I've always loved and hated talent shows at the same time. Loved them because I got to see unexpected abilities and surprising creativity from friends and classmates and acquaintances. Hated them because I never felt like I had a talent worth sharing and felt bad that I couldn't contribute something. Whenever we hear this parable, I suspect many people feel something similar. The parable even uses the word talent, which is actually where we get that English word from. Originally, it was a measurement of money, a very large amount of money, possibly millions of dollars. But there's no harm in extrapolating this to cover other abilities and gifts. Jesus tells us that these servants were given talents according to their ability, causing us to wonder, what about my ability? Maybe I don't feel like I can do that much. The point of this parable is to motivate us to be productive while we wait for Jesus to return. The second reading echoes that theme, warning us that it will be a sudden event, like a thief in the night, that those who haven't been productive will be left in the darkness. So let's say we take these warnings seriously, but it still doesn't address our other concern. What if I don't have anything to contribute? As a kid, I often wondered to myself, what if the servant went and traded, but ended up losing his master's money on some bad deals? Perhaps we could update that question by asking, what if while they were trading, a pandemic hit and shut down the market and they couldn't make any profit? And for every stock market or business success story, there's a whole lot more failures and bankruptcies. And facts like that cause us to think in a way that it's a lot like our initial reaction to a talent show, that only a small percentage of people are actually going to succeed. But every once in a while, in my experience, someone would come up with a group talent for that show and include me in a background part. Much like time in the choir, it was the combined talents of other people that created space for me to do what I could never do on my own and offer something to the community. This same reality applies to our salvation. On our own, none of us has what it takes to be productive, to earn our salvation, and make good use of God-given talent. But we're not on our own. The two successful servants are successful because they realize this. The wicked, lazy servant's mistake is how he saw his relationship to his master. There are two different visions of the master at work. The failed servant sees his master as opposed, as a challenge, an obstacle, someone in competition because he's so demanding, and therefore will want to take from the servant. The successful ones, however, see the master as an ally and a guide. His demanding nature is treated not as an obstacle, but as the way the master helps them to grow. In other words, one servant saw it as me versus him, while the other two saw it as me and him together against my own limitation. This dynamic is at work everywhere. It's the difference between people who grow up Catholic and love their faith, and those who grow up to hate the church. Where one person sees powerful tools for growing in genuine freedom and becoming better people, another person sees cold, dead rules meant to take away their freedom. It's the same rules in both cases, the Ten Commandments and the Beatitudes. But there's something missing in the heart of one. And what's missing is trust. In the example of a group act at a talent show, there's a trust that the group carries me along. In the parable of the talents, two of these servants have a basic trust that even if they fail, the master will carry them along appreciating their effort more than the money itself. Indeed, that's shown by his response. He doesn't say, "You were successful," but "You were faithful." In other words, you trusted me and acted on it. His rebuke of the third servant is not for losing profit, but for wickedness and laziness. It's obvious the master doesn't care that much about the money. He gives it away pretty freely. But he cares about the attitude and the behavior that comes from that. Our salvation is very much the same. The talents in this parable do not primarily represent money or even personal gifts and abilities. The real wealth that Jesus gives us is in the gifts of faith, hope, and charity. Our ability to know about Jesus and our salvation. Our ability to take seriously that faith in the way we live. Our ability to simply enjoy contemplating the mystery of God's love. Yes, there are different levels of holiness. It's obvious that some saints are more extraordinary than others. But every Catholic is given faith, hope, and love. Our judgment in the end is not based on how much we end up with in the world, but our fidelity in using these gifts well. As Mother Teresa puts it, God does not ask us to succeed. He asks us only to try. Even if you are not a brilliant writer or evangelist or powerful miracle worker, even if you lack the mental and physical ability to do big things to help other people, you have the talents of faith, hope, and love. Every time you receive a sacrament, pray a rosary, offer a fast, speak a kind word, when you spend time relishing the gift of the truth about God, these are moments of grace. And unlike the stock market, the economy of grace never fails. It never bottoms out. If you invest your grace, you will get more every time. Which is why we also have this reading about the worthy wife. Other than the economic analogy, the key passage here is this line. Her husband, entrusting his heart to her, has an unfailing prize. Christ is the bridegroom of the church, and we are the church. Each and every human soul is the recipient of an amazing gift, the heart of God himself, entrusted to us in a way that husband and wife never could. He doesn't just give us his heart in a metaphorical way, but literally in the Eucharist. So how silly is it to be afraid of the God who gives us his own heart to eat? How foolish it is to take that gift for granted, to bury it, and wait to give it back at the end. This is no mere talent show where you can watch, laugh, cry, and go home without doing anything. This invitation is a challenge for you to get richer in what matters, in grace. You can look at the demands of the Catholic faith with suspicion if you want, but you'd miss the point. The Master's joy is not the profit, how much you accomplish, but the glory of seeing his servant succeed in fidelity, in the life of grace. So take the risk to use your talents for God, and you are guaranteed to one day hear him say, "Come, share your master's joy."